Welcome. It's Friday. Welcome to Community Matters, formerly Seniors Matter. We're here every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue Radio. .world. You can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and the Rainier Avenue Radio app. Our program features interviews with individuals providing essential services and valuable information for our community. In addition to the show, I offer professional services through Black Orchid Notary. If you need financial documents notarized or require assistance having documents read to you for clarity or completion, please just give me a call at 206-683-2636. Well, my wonderful guest today is Dr. Janetta Brown. She's a founder and CEO of the ARC. Dr. Brown is a graduate of Spelman College in North Carolina, A&T State University, having earned her Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor's of Science in Industrial and Systems Engineering, and a PhD in Industrial Systems Engineering. Welcome to the show, Dr. Brown.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
It's so good to see you. I didn't expect to see you this soon again, but I'm so glad that I am. Just one other little thing about Dr. Brown. The organization that she has, the ARC, was handpicked by the National Institute on Aging as a pioneering company exemplary of diversifying aging research, advancing the empowerment of dementia caregivers, and leading the development of health technology. And one of the reasons she's here today is because she's putting on a workshop tomorrow for caregivers. It's called Caring Across Generations. And so now, with that all said, what inspired you to create, oh my God, today is definitely Friday, to create the Caring Across Generations workshop for the Black community here in Seattle?
Well, through our entire lifespan, we all need to be conscious of how our daily wellness and habits can impact our overall health. And so a lot of folks might not think about how our brains are just as much impacted by what we eat, how we sleep, stress management, our environment, etc. So this information is shared for all ages. So when we say caring across generations, this is for those who are older, those who might be a part of the sandwich generation who have started their own families but might be caring for aging loved ones, and then those who are even of younger generations. This particular workshop will be hosted at Bird Bar Place, where the National Council of Negro Women Seattle section will work in collaboration with the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle. And all three organizations are true staples in the community. And so it's exciting to bring us all together towards dementia education through the support of the Washington State Department of Health,
All right.
Brain Health and Dementia Awareness in Our Communities program. We're able to connect our families with these critical resources. So besides just learning about the foundations of dementia, like what is it, what puts us at risk, the early signs, we're also incorporating legal planning education. And so that will be led by the Dementia Action Collaborative Legal Planning Project. So as you can see, it'll be a full house. It is not to be missed. And it will be a great kickoff to June being Alzheimer's and Dementia Awareness Month.
Ah, there it is. There it is. Okay. So you said a lot, and it sounds that this is really going to be something different from a traditional health seminar lecture. So what else is happening? What makes this unique?
Honestly, there's a new level of urgency around preparing families earlier rather than later or waiting for crisis to happen. So many traditional seminars can feel clinical, overwhelming, or kind of disconnected from everyday realities that families are facing. So this workshop was intentionally designed to be culturally grounded, interactive, compassionate, and practical for the Black community and the broader community that supports aging loved ones.
Well, that definitely sounds right on time, that's for sure. For listeners who may not know much about dementia, what are some of the early signs families often overlook or misunderstand?
A lot of the times, I'd say forgetfulness might be one of those
Mhm.
early signs. We'll attribute forgetfulness to just getting old or old age, but forgetfulness.
And hey, what age does this old age start? Oh, sorry.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth.
Oh, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But see, well, that's no, that's a great question. Even dementia diagnoses are getting are younger and younger. We have what's called younger onset dementia. And so
Really?
those who might be, yeah, around 55 or younger, we're starting to see a lot more cases
Oh,
um,
really?
for that age range. Yeah. But it's really like the debilitating forgetfulness that's not a part of normal aging. So, like if your loved one, their ability to do certain things that they've done for years. And I sometimes I use my father as an example. He worked at the same job for about 47 years.
Mhm.
Just had his route that he would drive to get to work down pat to where he knew exactly how fast to drive down certain streets to avoid stop signs and intersections. But then over time, he began to get lost. He
Mhm.
began to forget how to get home. He would call my mom and say, "Hey, I don't recognize where I am. Can you help guide me back to the house?" And so that can be, a little jarring.
Mhm.
But those significant instances where if someone is unable to keep up with paying their bills or leaving food on the stove and starting
Mhm.
fires, these are the more significant instances of forgetfulness that we might want to take into account and start monitoring and even talking with our doctors about.
That reminded me, your story reminded me of my dad. He and my mom were out doing whatever. I don't remember what it was, but it was foggy and they were on Lake Washington Boulevard. And she calls me and she says, I don't know where we are, and your dad's driving, and he definitely doesn't know where he is. And my first thought is, it's foggy, there's water. Please don't let him drive into the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got dressed really quick, and then I called somebody else who lived in the area, and we did finally find them. But it was like, oh my gosh, that was my first thought. It's like, oh, please don't drive into the lake.
Hmm.
I think it's a perfect example. In fact, shortly after that, we had him stop driving. So,
Okay.
whew. Um, so this dementia is really something that is it getting worse? Because you talked earlier about foods and in our environment, and I saw an article this morning. They were talking about washing fruits and talking about the difference between regular fruit and organic fruit.
Organic. Hmm.
And so, but they're washing it, and the same dirt was in the organic that was in the regular. And it was like, okay, so there's this protection because the farmers spray pesticides on the fruits to keep them from being eaten by the other level. So, and they sprayed on organic too. So if you there it was I know it was advertising a product, and I don't remember the name of the product, but it was just showing that there is a plastic coating, so to speak, that protects the fruit, but you're ingesting it. Even though you just wash it in plain water, you're still not getting it all off. And I thought, okay, I wonder how much of that's affecting our brains too.
Sure. I think you might hear a lot about microplastics,
Mhm.
pesticides, other chemicals that we're finding in our foods, or that our foods are actually made out of, as a way to increase the shelf life, or yeah, to deter pests and insects and whatnot. And honestly, even when food is organic, I believe the standards around what's considered organic
Mhm.
um, I believe it decreases the amount of pesticides or the types of pesticides that are used. But yes, in washing our fruits and our vegetables, there are different protocols that we can take because when we ingest those chemicals, microplastics, etc., what it can do is disrupt our gut microbiome.
Mm.
When you have those elements in our bodies that our bodies can't digest fully or don't really know what to do, it kind of gets stored in different places in our bloodstreams, in our gut, in our organs that we'll then need to detox and try to get rid of. And
Is
so
that
over
called
time,
parasites?
that's part of it for sure. For sure. Our parasites probably feed off of those things that are in our bodies. And so yes, to answer your question, it does impact our brain health. Whatever is in our systems, whatever our blood cells are delivering to all of our organs, including our brains, are all impacted by those chemicals, by the pesticides, by the plastics, different heavy metals. And so taking those precautions to get organic when you can, or buy
Mhm.
local when you can, or eating fruits and vegetables when they're in season can all be additional improvements and added benefits to our health.
Just to update you, you're listening to Community Matters with your host, Brenda Charles Edwards, on www.rainieravenueradio.world, your community radio station. You can also listen to us on YouTube, Facebook, and Rainier Avenue Radio app. Community Matters invites a variety of guests to discuss issues and activities that may have an impact on the lives of the community. Would you like to help make more broadcasts like this possible? Donate today on Venmo at Rainier Avenue Radio or online at rainieravenueradio.world/donate through Shunpike today. And we thank you for helping make this and other broadcasts possible. My guest today is Dr. Janetta Brown. As we said earlier, her next workshop is Saturday, May 30th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Bird Bar Place, 722 18th Avenue, Seattle 98122. And the name of this wonderful workshop is Caring Across Generations, Dementia Care, Family Support, and Planning. Now, why is it especially important to have conversations about dementia, caregiving, and brain health within Black families and faith communities, Doctor?
You said it in our title: planning, planning, planning.
Yeah.
Getting kind of ahead of the curve, being able to be proactive instead of reactive with
Mhm.
our caregiving strategy, being connected to all the answers and the solutions that are out there. There are so many social determinants of health that put us at higher risk to develop dementia than other races. And then within the Black community, we talk about it all the time. We're known to kind of sweep those sensitive topics under the rug or keep issues like brain or mental health to ourselves rather than have those open and honest conversations. So, a workshop, an educational session like the one happening tomorrow, is a great space to come together as a community and talk about our fears, talk about our struggles, and hear from different experts from different paths, different walks of life, different age ranges. In fact, I think most of the presenters, including myself, I believe we're all under 40 years old.
Oh,
So we
wow.
get a different perspective, yeah,
Yes, that's
on mental
wonderful.
health, right? Very, very cool.
Absolutely. I was
Yeah.
talking to a doctor yesterday. I believe, I think he's a psychologist. He's not a psychiatrist. But we were talking about mental health. And he was saying how mental health is not being treated in hospitals and facilities with a positive outcome because there's so much going on and so many different levels, and sometimes the right questions aren't being asked. And it's like, how do you feel about something versus what do you feel is going on within you, versus a particular mood. And a young man I knew from the time he was a baby till his early 20s 10 years ago committed suicide because he was diagnosed as schizophrenic. And he was a wonderful artist too, but he had a really hard time adjusting to his medications and finally just had enough. And I know this isn't directly on you, but dementia is a mental health issue too, sort of, kind of, right?
Yes, it is.
So caregivers, I think many of them possibly don't identify themselves as caregivers. So what are some of the hidden challenges families face when supporting a loved one with dementia?
One hidden challenge, and thank you for sharing that story, that experience and perspective from the young man. That does highlight one of the hidden challenges. I would say that emotional toll that dementia caregiving can take on everyone involved, not just the caregiver directly, but family members and friends. The negative stigma that comes along with dementia and mental health, and how our cognitive health might decline over time, especially with dementia being so unpredictable. It impacts everyone differently. And so I'd say the emotional toll that caregiving can take on everyone involved, the financial toll, the change in relationship dynamics. One, when you go to step in to care for someone or just being there for family, that's one reason why caregivers might not identify themselves as a caregiver, because we're just taking care of our grandmothers. We're just taking care of our loved ones like
Right.
anyone would be expected to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what comes with that are a lot of the challenges that we don't always hear about. What if you have to move someone into your home? What if you are estranged from the care recipient or the person, your loved one, who now is reliant upon you for everything? You
Right.
become the nurse, you become the lawyer, you become the accountant,
Mm-hmm.
you become the parent of the person that you're caring for. And so a lot of that isn't widely talked about in depth. I think we all kind of experience those transitions within our own experiences, but that's why coming together to talk about it as a community can shed a lot of light. One, so people don't feel like they're alone in this journey. Two, so you can hear how people have managed or mitigated certain challenges. And there's so much that we can learn from one another, even if you're an expert, even if you're a specialist. Hearing from the general public, hearing from the families can shed light and inspire and give insights on both sides for both parties.
Right. And then it also lets you know that this is not something to be embarrassed about.
Mhm.
Because in a way it's a disease, right? I mean, it's not
Yes, it
something
is.
that you have control over, that you can prevent
In many cases, what puts us at
or can
risk,
you?
we can. That's something
Okay.
that we do highlight. Um, in fact, I want to say there's research out there in the literature that shares about 45% of dementia cases worldwide were avoidable if we had
Really?
just addressed that which we could modify.
Ah,
So, high blood pressure, high blood sugar,
okay.
stress, your quality of sleep, um, oral health. There's so many things that we can
Oh,
take control of now and then work towards dementia prevention over time. Because dementia is not all of a sudden. The
right.
changes that happens, yeah, the changes that happen in our brains can start 20 to 40 years before you see any changes on the outside with our behavior.
Mm, wow, that's yes.
Right.
Okay. There's a lot to living. I mean, it's just not
So much.
waking up in the morning and going about your way. There's just a whole number of factors that are involved, and you just don't even know. So, what are some practical strategies caregivers can begin using right now to better support both their loved ones and themselves, which is very important?
Absolutely. I would say definitely connecting to educational sessions like this one that's coming up,
Right.
attending, yeah, caregiver forums and conferences, participating in social activities. Don't isolate yourself from others. Even, for instance, with my family, we started to notice different invitations to come over folks' houses or to celebrate holidays started to decline because, in many cases, people might not know how to interact with your loved one if they're experiencing symptoms of dementia. So keeping that social isolation at a minimum, right? Staying active, taking control over what we're eating, and educating ourselves on the resources that are out there. And I know that's a lot in itself, right? Finding and navigating the government websites and reading all of the books, it can be very daunting. And
Mm.
so when you can come together and hear from one another, and talk to different experts, organizations that participate in dementia awareness initiatives go through a lot to curate these resources and answers. And so it's just a great way for us all to come together and educate and hear from one another and learn together.
When you were saying, you mentioned about participating in social activities like memory cafes.
Mhm.
Now, I'm sure there are other senior centers that have those, but I know in particular that the Southeast Seattle Senior Center um, has one, and I believe it's coming up this next Thursday.
Okay.
But they have it once a month, so if someone is interested, they can just call. But I attended one once and ran into somebody I hadn't seen in ages. She runs a theater, and they were doing improv um, assignment, so to speak. And it was
Mhm.
just really interesting watching how people, music sometimes brings back memories for people, and it was fascinating. And I don't know if it's advertised enough, but just a little thought, little info throwing out there for someone that might need it. Um, so now I know your workshop also focuses on legal planning. Why is legal and future planning so critical in the dementia journey?
Dementia caregiving is expensive. It's time consuming, it's emotionally taxing, and places a really high demand on those who are affected. And so caregivers are known to lose their life savings, to lose their homes, and even develop worsening health conditions within themselves. And so, like I mentioned before, you become the accountant, you become the lawyer,
Mhm.
the banker, the
The
nurse of
nurse.
the person that you're
Mhm.
caring for. And so, legal and future planning helps you get ahead of the curve, understanding what changes might be coming down the line, whether your loved one is able to stay in their home and age in place versus, let's say, them in needing to live in assisted living care
Mm.
facilities, knowing how to get that paid for. There are different programs like the Guide program through, I think, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They
Hmm.
pay caregivers to provide care. They can
What?
show up for you and, right, and for different
Pardon me, you
expenses.
said what? Hey?
Yep. And so there are ways to really fill in the gaps and to collect those resources and connect to resources to kind of help you along the way. So legal planning definitely helps you learn how to have those difficult conversations. If your loved one might need help keeping their bills paid on time, if your loved one might need help managing their doctor's appointments or medications, being in place legally through healthcare proxy or power of attorney. There's medical and financial power of attorney statuses. So, yeah, having those conversations early, getting connected and getting an understanding of what's coming down the line, they're always really important topics to tackle early, especially if your loved one can still communicate how they want to age gracefully, how they want to be treated as over the years as time goes on.
I'm smiling because I was thinking about my dad when I used to talk to him about his advanced care directive.
Mhm.
And he told me more than one time, I'll deal with it when the time comes. And
Mm.
under my breath, I said, no, you won't. We'll be dealing with it. And that's what happened.
Mhm.
But anyway, it's there's so much to learn and to understand. And I'm so glad that you're having this workshop because people just people just don't understand. And I know a lot of families avoid these conversations because they feel it's overwhelming. But
Mhm.
as we get near the end of our time, what would you say to someone who's been putting off planning?
Ooh. Instead of putting off planning, it is it's better to 'cause- well, one, I would ask what it is that is causing them to delay or procrastinate.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a matter of just not knowing how to have the conversations, not knowing where to start, not knowing what resources are out there or what everything means, um, I think that's where I would start, trying to understand what is causing the delay. Um, I know that in some cases, people might anticipate having to come out of pocket or having to sacrifice their everything in order to show up and provide care for their loved ones, but that's not necessarily the case. So if it's a matter of mindset or expectations or assumptions that are being made, that's what I would try to get to the bottom of if I met someone who was putting off planning. If it's, let's say your loved one is just being stubborn and they don't want someone to come in and swoop in and take over and feel like they're losing their autonomy, there
Mm-hmm.
are ways to kind of navigate those situations and those scenarios. Uh, so yeah, I think I would ask a bunch of questions and just kind of get to the bottom of it because then I'd be able to recommend a strategy, an action plan, where to start, how to have the conversations, and next steps.
Sounds good. So my time is up. This is Brenda Charles Edwards. Don't leave, Janetta. This is
Okay.
Brenda Charles Edwards, host of the Community Matters Show. You can listen to me on www.rainieravenueradio.world, YouTube, and of course on the Rainier Avenue Radio app. We're here on Fridays at 12:30. Thank you to my listening, viewing audience, my guest, the wonderful Dr. Janetta Brown. Special thank you to MC Class for the use of his music Ragtime. Have a great weekend, be safe, and live your life like it's golden. And don't forget that workshop. Hey, Doctor, I will talk with you later, hon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Be blessed.